Well, not a happy bunny this morning. I just pulled off the mooring. I found that wrapped around the prop. We stopped for water at the Harts Hill Yard. We're actually off.
I'll stand here, that's it.
We're actually off into Atherstone to witness an annual event that's been taking part for 800 years. And find out why this crowd is eagerly awaiting an event to happen in Atherstone. Well, good morning people, and hope we are all in good health and feeling good. We've retraced our steps back now. We're now at the head of the Ashby, or the beginning of the Ashby Canal, I would say. We're just about to pass the junction, and we're continuing our journey now on towards Nuneaton.
Through
Nuneaton, and then we're hoping to moor up the other side. So this is just the junction just coming into view behind us. This is the Ashby Canal.
Can't believe that we actually turned into that.
No, I can't.
It
that
was
is
quite
really tight, as you will see. But there you are. So, not too far to go today, so do enjoy the cruise, folks. We're steadily making our way northwards towards Chester, but it's slow progress. In this episode, over the next 3 days, we left Coventry Basin and retraced our steps back to Hawksbury Junction. There we continued straight on and back up the Coventry Canal, stopping overnight near Charity Dock, then continuing on and mooring outside the Anchor pub near Harts Hill. Finally, we managed to find a lovely mooring just before the locks in Atherstone. Every now and again we come across hills like this. Believe it or not, they're actually man-made. They're all that's left of the collieries, the slag heaps that have now grown over and trees have grown on them. But there's a few dotted around this area, but the collieries, alas, are long gone. Because of Nuneaton's location centrally in the UK, in the Midlands, the collieries have now been replaced by these huge distribution warehouses that are starting to crop up. This is the new industry in the Midlands now, distribution warehouses for the major companies in the UK, like the supermarkets, even Amazon, and places like that. I mentioned that the warehouses were large. We just look at the scale of that. We just can't see the end of it. It just goes on and on and on. It must be huge inside. He's got a sense of humour.
Hot tub open, swimsuits prohibited.
One thing to note around Nuneaton, there's an awful lot of allotments. So people obviously like working the ground and growing their own vegetables, which in today's climate of rising costs probably isn't a bad idea. Nice way to tidy your garden fence, isn't it? What a lovely view for the boater to look out his window. Not a happy bunny this morning. I just pulled off the mooring and found that wrapped around the prop, and while I was getting my tops off to go down the weed hatch, my glasses flew off into the centre of the cut. I had insult to injury. My landing net, which I used to fish things out the canal, broke. Not going to be a good day today, I just got that feeling.
It's in the cupboard.
It's in the what?
It's in the cupboard.
This is the former Coventry Canal Company's main repair centre. The buildings and much of the equipment in the yard date back to the canal's commercial heydays 200 years ago. It contains an authentic old blacksmith shop, a covered dock under the clock tower building, the British Waterways working yard used daily for repairs to the local canals and historic structures. It also has a water point here, but you really have to search it out because it's well hidden. James. Well, we've just arrived at Mansetta Marina and we're obviously passing, they call themselves the Rothen Group workboats, but how about that for stacking boats then? Aye? If you haven't got room, stack them on top of each other. Look at that. Ha ha! While we're biding our time in Atherstone, waiting for my glasses, and the weather being absolutely gorgeous, we're taking our time to give AmyJo her spring polish. And we normally do this spring and autumn.
Is it spring yet? No.
Yeah, it's not quite spring yet, but we're getting into it a bit early.
The weather's nice though.
So the weather's nice, so we're making the most of it. But young Smudge being Smudge, he's supervising like he always does. He's lapping up the sunshine there, but he's hogging the towpath.
As he does.
As he does. Well, we're on a bit of a mission today. We're going to have a little wander into Atherstone town, and we're using the excuse to walk the dog, excuse the sun. But we're going to have a little look round this morning, see what we can see. Atherstone is a typical market town in North Warwickshire. It's located in the far north of the county, near the A5 national route, and is adjacent to the border with Leicestershire, which is here formed by the River Anker. It lies between the larger towns of Tamworth and Nuneaton. It has a long history that dates back to Roman times. It was once a very important hatting town and became well known for its felt hat industry. The industry began in the 17th century, and at its height in the earliest 20th century there were 7 firms employing 3,000 people. Due to cheap imports and the decline in wearing of hats, the trade has declined substantially by the 1970s. The production of felt hats in the town ceased altogether with the closure of the Wilson and Stafford factory in 1999. As of 2018, the factory has received the go-ahead to be redeveloped into canal-side residential apartments. Well,
What are you like?
what am I like, she says. We're actually off.
I'll stand here, that's it.
We're actually off into Atherstone to witness an annual event that's been taking part for 800 years. Or will be revealed. Well, we're now walking down Long Road, which is the high street, if you like, of Atherstone. And so is everyone else. And we'll see what happens.
The shops are all boarded up.
But as you can see, everything's boarded up, so it's going to get a little bit interesting later. But we'll see what happens.
People are getting their vantage point.
Everybody's...
Group of lads up there high, on the higher ground.
Yeah. So, stick your pole up in here.
You'll get something. I think I'll look back on that to see what's going on.
So what's it all about? Well, it's just started. The ball game, as it's known, is a medieval football game played annually on Shrove Tuesday here in the town. The game honours a match played between Leicestershire and Warwickshire in 1199, when teams used a bag of gold as a ball, and which was won by Warwickshire. At one time, similar events were held in many towns throughout England, but Atherstone's is now one of the last 3 such games that are still played each year at Shrove Tide. The others being the Royal Shrove Tide football match held in Ashbourne, Derbyshire, and the Alnwick Shrove Tide football match in Alnwick. The 2-hour game is played in the town's main street, Long Street, and sees groups of players compete for possession of a giant ball that is specially made for the occasion. The match is usually started at 3 p.m. on Shrove Tuesday by a celebrity guest, usually someone associated with the area, who is invited to throw the ball from the upstairs balcony of the Atherstone Conservative Club, locally known as Connie. The game itself has few rules. In fact, there's only 2 that play is restricted to Long Street, and the participants are not allowed to kill anyone. The winner is declared at 5 p.m, the title going to the person who has possession of the ball when the whistle sounds. As you'll see, gameplay can become quite intense as players compete to keep hold of the ball, with clothes torn off and occasional violence. Here the winners had cornered the ball inside the entrance to William Harthill and defended it to the hilt, winning at 5 o'clock. Wow. We thought that was tradition, but bloody hell.
Fisticuffs.
Fisticuffs, clothes flying out. Somewhere in the middle of that lot there's a naked bloke. I tell you. But what an afternoon, eh? Away from the violence of the game, we mentioned earlier that everything was shuttered up, and you can see why now. But we came across this lovely mural outside the Heritage Centre, and it just so happened that the local dignitaries and the artist were there, and I managed to grab the artist called James, and he told me all about the mural and what it represents.
Hi, I'm James Fellows. I work at the Atherstone Heritage Centre, and this year I was commissioned to do this mural with my friend George, who's a painter, and basically express the rich heritage of Atherstone and North Warwickshire. The history is so rich with that hat making, which was one of the main industries in Atherstone, and obviously it's been displayed today, the day of the ball game, on the boards which protect the shop fronts from the mayhem and the violence of the game.
Yes, we've seen some of that.
It's the actual history of the game dates back to the 12th century. It was supposedly a battle between a sack of gold between 2 counties of Warwickshire and Leicestershire, and Warwickshire won the sack of gold, and then for the past 900 years it's been held here in Atherstone, which is the main town of North Warwickshire.
So could you explain to us some of the characters, because there's obviously some well-known characters on here.
Yeah, so I mean the most distinctive characters you've got are people such as Tommy Cooper and Soldier from the film Zulu, The relevance of these characters is Tommy Cooper's fez was made in Atherstone, and Atherstone made a lot of fez hats, and they were shipped out all over the East, which is kind of insane. You know, the industry's completely inverted to what it was. And the actual hatting is folded now. It was in the millennium. The last hat factory closed. So which is, you know, it's a shame, but it's great to be able to celebrate it and revisit it. And then you've got the film Zulu. So that these are pith helmets which were worn in the Boer War and colonial history, colonial battles, and they were also made in Atherstone. And for the film, the hats were made for that film. So you've got, it's hard to explain, but a lot of the commercial hat making for TV, film, for all sorts of, for military, for First, Second World War, Boer War, everything. A lot made in Atherstone, and the reason why Atherstone is a perfect place for hat making is because you've got the water running through, you've got steam, and you've got the livestock, and you've got the availability of wool. So it's the perfect environment for hat making. And then you've got
obviously the sun up there, which obviously represents the ball. Yeah,
the sun, which represents the ball, which is kind of the heart of Atherstone, and Atherstone's kind of been known as the Atherstone ball games, like the Christmas Day of Atherstone for the local people. And you've got a reference to Charles Dickens, who is celebrated here every year on a day called Dickens. It's usually called Dickens Night, but now it's called Dickens Day. And then you've got Hats Bates Butchers, which has been going for since the 1800s. Master's Bakery has been going since the 1800s. Bottle making. The canals, which is obviously, you know, very relevant to you.
For us, yes, of course.
And just, you know, and one of the most specific important things about North Warwickshire and this mural is the mining. We wanted to emphasise how important and integral the mining was for this area, and it was like the thumping heart of this place, keeping it all going. And then you've got the Merivale estate up here, which is Merivale Hall,
right in the top corner there,
which is you know, got a lot of history connected to royalty and gentry and politicians and etc.
That's brilliant.
So that's pretty much it. And then this is George Eliot, who's a local writer from Nuneaton, very famous, known as like the female Shakespeare of her time.
Lovely.
That's it.
Well, thank you very much, James.
Thanks
Appreciate
very much.
your time. Thank you.